What's up, y'all? Welcome into another edition of DNVR RAMS Live. I am Justin Michael. Happy opening day to everybody. We are reacting to the introductory press conference from Ali Farokhmanesh today. I'll play an interview with Nique Clifford as well. I will just kind of talk about everything that stood out from this afternoon. It was a community event from which was really cool to see. Sorry, I'm trying to get this tweet out. I realized I didn't post the link before the show started. Let me just do that real quick. We've got a lot to get into today. Like I said, I am going to play that interview from Nique Clifford. I'm going to talk about what stood out from the statements from both John Weber as well as Ali Farokhmanesh. We'll play some clips from Ali answering questions from the press as well. Felt like he handled the situation well. It's pretty tough to bomb the intro presser, if we're being honest, but I felt like he really did a nice job. It was very much community-oriented. The message from both John as well as Ali really focused around just continuing to build off of what's been established with the momentum of this program and kind of taking things to the next level. There was some pretty poignant comments from John Weber talking about just the importance of showing up on a national stage and how huge it was for CSU as a university to have a basketball program that won a conference championship, that showed up in the NCAA tournament and performed well against Memphis and Maryland. I mean, they were 3 seconds away from a Sweet 16. And really, one of the things that I thought Ram fans will love to hear is he hopes that's kind of the baseline. This doesn't need to be a fluke. They want that to continue. And that was one of the things that he talked about was while he understood why people were getting frustrated with the timing of all this, maybe took a day or so longer than the fans would have hoped. He had a responsibility to really take this search seriously. And he mentioned that he interviewed assistant coaches from high major programs, all kinds of different candidates, and they really worked hard to make sure that they got the guy. And they believe that Ali is the right guy. But I think what stood out from what John said was if they didn't think Ali couldn't kill it, if they didn't think he couldn't continue, what this program has been doing of late, he wouldn't have got the job. And I think that while I make the jokes about the search firm and all that and whether it's necessary, like at the end of the day, like this is a job that was going to command significant interest. There were going to be a lot of quality coaches that they could have gone with, and Ali really was the best man. He won it out. There's obviously a gamble when you go with somebody who has never been a head coach at this level before. Just objectively, it's a gamble, but he was so universally supported by the community. And you could see that with the turnout today, which was awesome to see for an 11 a.m. press conference. Looked like most of the team was there as well. I don't think I saw Bemba, but I very well could have missed him. That's not to say that he definitively was not there. I did see Kyan Evans, Croc was there. Nique Clifford was there. Obviously interviewed him. We'll play that here in just a couple minutes. Nique gives some insight into Ali getting the job. He talks about his advice to Kyan and Croc, given the situation that they're in, his journey at CSU and accomplishing everything he hoped to and then some. But it was a cool day. I thought it was a really cool setup at Moby Arena. Great turnout. Great to see the players there. Northern Iowa head coach Ben Jacobson, Ali's coach at UNI, that's pretty rare. I don't think a active head coach very frequently goes to an introductory press conference for another head coach like that at the D1 level. I don't know if I've ever seen that. I'm sure it's happened before, but I can tell you it's not super common. But I think it speaks to the relationship that those two have. And Ali talked about that being very representative of what he hopes this program will be, which is a family type atmosphere. He hopes to someday be at an intro press conference for a head coach that, he was able to lead. So I just thought that the whole thing was very heartwarming, very endearing. Both Ali and John Webber got kind of emotional, got a little bit teary-eyed at times, but I kind of loved it. I loved just how genuine it felt, and you could tell how everybody at CSU was just glowing, and they were really excited for the future. They were really happy for Ali, a guy who has gone about his business the right way, treats people the right way, that's an active member of the community. Everybody was really happy for him, and like it just kind of felt like this was the right call. That's not very eloquent, but it just felt like everything was very fitting. It felt like it was a natural succession, and we can just kind of continue what's been going here, which has been a highly competitive, but also a program that does things the right way, that has the right types of guys that represent the school well, that aren't getting in trouble, that get good grades, all of that fun stuff. Ali said the community is why he didn't take other opportunities. I've talked about that a lot. Saw some tweets from people that don't listen to the show being extremely surprised that Ali had other head coaching opportunities. I feel like me and Kevin have mentioned that quite a few times over the years. But he said, that's why he never left. He wanted to be here. This place is different. This place is special. He really nailed the press conference, talked about how Nico prepared him for this moment, and how he wouldn't be here today without him. Webber, talked about how Ali, really impressed him as a leader, and I just feel like it's been really cool to see a program be built up the right way, and to see the people that were a major part of that get rewarded. I think they very easily could have gone with somebody like Craig Smith, who is an established coach who's led multiple teams to the NCAA tournament. That would have been a logical choice. You could have gone with a Tim Miles, who also would have made a lot of sense. He built this program up once when there was a whole lot less institutional support. Imagine what he could do with the resources that CSU has now. But I just feel like it was Ali's time. And he's been such an incredible recruiter. He's treated everybody with the utmost respect. And I know I'm getting a little repetitive here, but he just goes about things the right way. And I'd be shocked if he doesn't have success because of the way he carries himself, and because of the relationships he has with his players, with his former coaches, with the community, and even like with the media. Like, I just feel like he understands how to play the game. He's going to be awesome. We're going to play some clips from Ali answering some questions from the media. We are going to react to all of that. We're going to talk about him adding Dave Polopovich to the staff. That's unofficial as of now. But since we have gone live last, Tim Shelton and both Ken DeWeese have officially been confirmed as part of his staff. Love that they're able to maintain that continuity. We'll talk about that a little bit as well. Lots coming up on the show. Shout out to everybody that's rocking with us on the Toyota chat right now in the middle of the day. Normally go live at 10 a.m. But I appreciate everybody being flexible. Aaron giving me crap for not asking about the travel. Had to read the moment. It's one of those we got to read the room a little bit. Maybe when we get him on the pod here upcoming, we can get into it a little bit and what Ali's thoughts are on that creative footwork, I guess we can call it, from Derek Queen and Maryland. We're going to play a Nique Clifford interview real quick. I didn't want to wait too long until we got to it. We'll give some thoughts on it afterwards, but Nique gave some thoughts on Ali Farokhmanesh getting the gig. He talked about his advice to Kyan and Croc, all of that. So here is Nique Clifford, who gave us a couple of minutes, which I really appreciate. Kind of speaks to the type of guy he is as well. Has plenty of stuff coming up, but was here for his head coach. Was gracious with his time, spoke with everybody that asked him. He probably did 20 interviews today, but that's the kind of guy Nique is. Here with Nique Clifford. Just what can you say about Ali Farokhmanesh getting the job, and what can you say about your relationship with him?
Just super happy for him, man. Nobody deserves it more than him. He's worked for this his whole life, and for him to be able to do it at Colorado State, a place that he's helped build the foundation for, and a place that he loves, just super excited for him. And then just the relationship I've been able to have with him and build over the last 5 years, I think. It's been a blessing. It's been a blessing to say the least. And I'm gonna miss my time with him.
What is it about him that makes him such a great coach? I mean, it just seems like he's as genuine as it gets.
Yeah, I think just his versatility to, have a relationship with his players, balance that with having an off-the-court relationship, and he just genuinely cares about what he's doing. It's bigger than basketball. He's obviously got a mind for the game, high IQ, but just his ability to have a relationship with his guys and help them grow as young men, I think is top notch.
You've talked a lot about just your belief in yourself. Like, how did it feel to go out and perform the way you did in that NCAA tournament stretch?
Oh man, it just comes down to the work, man. I was just doing the same stuff I was doing all year, just trusting all the work I put in, and my teammates. We just went out there and played, man. And everybody gets into the stereotypes of like bigger conferences versus little it's basketball at the end of the day. So we just went out and did what we knew we were capable of.
What's your advice to guys like Kyan and Croc, who, we all know what it is. They're going to have interest from other schools.
It's a crazy time with the portal, with the NIL. And I've given them advice. They've called me up and asked for some advice. And I just tell them, you got to make the right decision for you at the end of the day. But obviously, stick to what you know. Like, you have a good spot here. You have a good spot in Minnesota. Whatever it is, whatever you end up doing, you're gonna make a good decision. But don't just chase a quick bag for a long-term investment. Like, you could get screwed over going somewhere and you don't know the situation. So just telling them to kind of stick with what they know and go with their gut instinct. They're gonna make the right decision.
Did you accomplish what you set out to when you transferred to CSU?
Yes, 100%, and more. I definitely didn't know I'd be in this position at any point. Definitely believed in myself and knew I could do it, but it's surreal that it's actually coming true and I'm living out my dreams. But
shout out to Nique Clifford. Interview got cut short there. That was my fault recording it, but I appreciate him giving us a couple of minutes, giving us his perspective on Kyan and Croc. I kind of think that's sensible, and I think we would all be oblivious to not assume that there's a possibility those guys follow Nico Medved to Minnesota. I have heard some somewhat encouraging things regarding the chances of them staying. Fingers crossed, we'll see what happens there. I got a couple of more quotes, and then we'll play some of Ali answering some questions from the media this afternoon. These are just some quotes I wrote down from his intro statement, which went about 15 minutes, too long to play in the entirety on the show. But I will clip some of the more relevant moments from it and share those on the DNVR Rams social. I will also be writing about it, so if you're a DNVR diehard, keep your eyes on the site for that. More in-depth thoughts on all of this after I've had a couple of hours to kind of go through it. I wanted to do an instant reaction today, but this is obviously kind of fresh off the dome, so maybe not quite as articulate as I can be once I have an opportunity to really sort through it and get a column out. But I really love this quote from Ali talking about the community. You guys mean everything to me. This is the best fan base in the country. He later went on to say, it's why I never left. I wanted to be here. He also said, this place is different. This place is special. Nico established something great. We are going to take it to the next level. Again, really felt like he rocked that intro press conference. We're going to keep talking about that. We will play that clip of Ali talking with the media, answering a couple of questions from people like me, Sean Keeler of the Denver Post, Tyler King of the Denver Gazette, Kevin Lytle, obviously. We're going to take a quick break real quick. We're going to pay the bills, shout out a couple of our partners. Get ready for the season ahead with quality shades built to last. Our friends at Shady Rays have you covered with premium polarized shades that won't break the bank. They're an independent sunglasses company offering a world-class product rated 5 stars by over 300,000 people. Durable frames, crystal clear optics, making them the perfect option for whatever you're doing. I wear my Shady Rays when I'm walking the dog, when I'm chilling in the pool. I actually got a pair right here. I love Shady Rays because I know if I ever lose or break them, they are going to replace them, no questions asked. But that seems to be a pretty tall task because I'll be honest, my dog he's a big boy. He likes to roughhouse. I've had him knocked off my face multiple times. Exclusively for our listeners, Shady Rays giving out the best deal of the season. Go to shadyrays.com, use that code DNVR for 35% off. Try for yourself the shades rated 5 stars by over 300,000 people. I also would like to shout out Toyota. Trucks have always been a part of Toyota's DNA. For generations, they built durable legends destined for greatness and perfect for Colorado. You guys know the drill by now. If you're conquering off-road trails or hauling the weight of the world, there's a Toyota truck that's just right for you. They've got 17 models with available all-wheel drive or four-wheel drive, which makes them perfect. If you're exploring in the foothills, if you're going out to the mountains, whatever you're doing, perfect for Colorado. They've also got more low and zero emission vehicles combined than any other automaker to give you numerous choices to reduce your carbon footprint. Toyota is a proud partner of CSU Athletics. They are also the official vehicle of DNVR. Toyota, let's go places. All right, we are going to play about a 10-minute video here of Ali Farokhmanesh answering some questions from the press. I will then react to that. We'll talk about Dave Polopovich being added to the staff, which I think is low-key a tremendous hire. Not always a big fan of a former head coach coming on in a young coach's staff just because it can lead to some weird dynamics potentially where he can be a know-it-all or the dynamic can just get weird at times. But Polopovich basically has a 100% approval rating in the Mountain West. Really considered a good guy. I've certainly enjoyed my conversations when I've had the opportunity to talk with him at things like the Mountain West tournament. We'll get into all of that and more, but here is the clip of Ali Farokhmanesh answering some questions from the press today.
We have great kids with high character that also have parents that have raised them to be great young men too. It ain't that hard to coach a Nique Clifford when you got parents like that. It's not hard to coach a Jaylen Lake. It's not hard to coach a Bowen Moore. All these kids, it is easy to show up every single day for them and help them grow and watch their dreams come true. That's why we do this job. It's not the wins and losses. I want to see these guys reach their dreams. Whatever that is, each person's different, but that's my goal. At the end of the day, that's why I got into this. That's why I was a player. It's helping these guys reach dreams that they didn't think they could reach, and that's why I show up every day.
Ali, you kind of mentioned the process of becoming ready to be a head coach. Can you just describe what that's been like for you the last few years of kind of preparing yourself for this moment?
Man, this is the best example I can give from Nico. Because he really did. He prepared me for this moment. We talked about it for 3 straight years. He would talk about what I would ask him questions to. That's the one thing I've always, in my entire life, is I'm curious. I want to learn. I want to ask questions from everybody. I told John, too, I know he's never been a head coach, but he's a CEO, and he went through the same situation that I went through, and he's talked to me about that. And I know I'm going to learn some more stuff from him. They're all parallel, right? The story, though, with Nico, and I told my wife this, I'll always remember this. At the conference tournament, there was some, I'm sure there's a lot of people that know this too, that everyone's excited for Nico to go talk, right? It was the championship game. Nico was going to go talk right before, and everyone's like, yeah, it's good luck. Nico talks, and we get excited. Well, Ali's coming. And Nico tells me, hey, I got a bunch of stuff to do. Can you go up there and talk to everybody? And I'm like, yeah, sure, whatever. And I'm about to go up there, and he's just sitting in the locker room. He's not actually doing anything. So I'm kind of confused as to what's going on right now. And then I go, Coach, do you need something? And he goes, no, you're good, and just winked at me. So he's always been preparing me. He set me up for those situations. He put me in those situations. It was all intentional. I thought it was coincidence at time, but he had a plan, and he set me up for success. And again, I would not be here today without Nico.
Ali, congratulations. What does it mean, first off, to have this tournament championship team here supporting you? And in this world of a portal and NIL and the realities of it, what is your pitch to them? Maybe to answer the question of the gentleman earlier, what is your pitch to them?
I said we had 6 a.m. lifting in the morning if they didn't show up. So. I think that's just, I don't know if there's a pitch. There's not really a pitch. I think it's more, that's the character of the people we have in this room, but it's also the consistency of which we show up for them every single day too. And they reciprocated that back for me every single day. And I really truly believe that's why they're here. It's a family thing. I'm gonna show up for them, they're showing up for me, and that's established from culture. And that that's driven from top down, but it's lived every day by the people that we bring in here. And that's the character of kids we're gonna bring in. Because at some point, the best teams are player-led. And when they can drive the culture, once we establish the culture, that's what creates a winning program.
Congratulations, Coach. What do you think is the biggest thing that Coach Mended provided to you to help you get where you are now?
Responsibility. He did not ask questions when I would write down a play call. And it started out different. I think you have to build that relationship up, but it got to the point where I would have it written down on the board already before he would even look down, and he'd say, hey, let's run Falcon for well. You got David Roddy, you got good players, like I know where the ball needs to go. But we would just, it came to a point where like we were on the same path, on the same path in the way we thought about things. But the biggest thing is like he set me up to learn about the things I didn't know about. In terms of meeting people, how you talk to people, when do you need to go say this? Timing is everything. And then treating people the right way and knowing that like this is a people business and that's the only thing that matters. It always will be the only thing that matters. And that's what I learned from Nico is people. And it sounds simple, but usually when you keep it simple, good things happen too.
Ali, congrats. You mentioned all the former players that stuck around this place, Isaiah, David, Nique, Jaylen. All of them were voicing support for you this week and saying this was the obvious decision. What does it mean to you to have their support through this and to know that they are fully behind you in this new era for the program?
Everything. Goes back to, yeah, where are the Kleenex? When does John get a question? No, it's everything. Like that's why you do this job. Like it's not. I love the games. Like obviously you love the games, and I think the players love the games more than the practice. I'm just sure of that because I did too, right, Coach Jake? But it's everything to me. Like it's the 6 a.m. workouts that we would do in the summers. It's the breakfast club things and seeing them show up for those and the 20 minutes before practice and the vitamins. It sounds great. It's the basketball piece of it, and I don't think they know that. I love the workouts, but I love being there with them and talking about them and learning about their girlfriends, learning about what they're interested in outside of basketball. You can tell when a guy's having a bad day. You can tell when something's going on. And those moments, that's what's coaching. And I've become a better coach because I'm a parent. And it's the same thing. There's nothing different between being a parent and a coach. You're raising young men and you're helping them grow through a tough time and a transitional time in their lives. They're going through a lot of stuff. And I think all coaches see this today with the amount of social media out there. They're going through more than I ever went through as a player. I didn't have anybody DMing me or texting me when I was 0 for 22 to start the season. You remember that? No one's saying, no, they're not getting that. I didn't get that. They see that every day, and that's hard to go through. And we're there for them, and that's why I wanted Coach DeWeese to stay. That's why I wanted Coach Shelton to stay, is because they feel the same way that I do. They care about the character of them, and they want to be there for these guys too. And I'll hire the rest of the staff will be the same type of men too.
John, you said that Ali is the right guy. This is obviously
a job that commanded significant interest. It's a program that's been to 3 tournaments in 5 years. What is it about Ali as a leader that kind of had him rise above the rest of you?
Well, I was hoping he's going to show a little bit more passion than what he's got. So that's a big part of it. Everything that he's said over the last 5, 6, 7 minutes, whatever it's been. But from a basketball perspective, an elite basketball IQ, an elite recruiter, an elite developer. We've got 3 players in the league now. When Nique goes here, 3 out of the last 4 years we've got a player in the league. It's just unbelievable opportunity to keep that kind of talent here at Colorado State and continue to grow on the foundation that we've got. And we openly talk about that we're 3.5 seconds away from a Sweet 16. That wants to be a floor for us. How do we get back there? How do we do this time and time and time and time again? Because nothing moves the needle more for this athletics program and helps the university than playing on the national stage. And when we get to the national stage and we play, win and advance and do it again. And that just has a massive impact on the university, and that's why we do what we do here.
John, what did you learn over the last 4 days about Ali that you did not kind of realize as you were going through, before you went through this process?
He cries. I don't know that that I learned things that I didn't know about him as a person and as a coach. But over the last few days, we had an opportunity to sit down and talk about what does it mean to be a head basketball coach, and what's his vision for the program, and how do we grow, and how does he want to recruit, how does he want to retain, what kind of members does he want on staff, how does he evolve from where we are today? Because like I said, we want this to be the expectation, that when we get into the postseason, we get there, we advance, and we keep going. And his views on how we do that, how we get there, I think combined with the support from our admin team, I think we're going to be a fierce team to deal with, and I'm really excited about it.
All right, a lot to react to there. We will get into my thoughts on some of the more significant statements from that clip that I showed. A little bit long, I know, but I just felt like they were all relatively interesting. So I felt like it was worth playing just to give you that perspective. Of all the clips from that little 10-minute presser there, I will say John Weber's comments about showing up on a national stage and when you get there winning seemed to be pretty poignant after the way things went at the Arizona Bowl. Maybe I'm reading too far into things there, but I talked a lot these last couple days about how it feels like the standard for CSU athletics as a whole has been lifted, and it's no longer just happy to be here. The expectation moving forward across the board is going to be to do what we've seen CSU basketball do these last couple of years, which is compete at the highest level. I mean, the Rams were a top 15 team last year. They then had some struggles in the league slate, but they ultimately, won an NCAA tournament game against an ACC team. This year, they win their first conference championship in 22 years, win 11 straight games. They're 3 seconds away from a Sweet 16. That's what CSU athletics should be. And I really think it's encouraging that Weber's been so open about all of that, because I think it speaks to the faith that he has in Ali Farokhmanesh. I keep coming back to, this is a really good job. This is a program that's in a really good place. They weren't just going to hand the keys to him if they didn't think he could drive the car. And I think the future of this program is really, really bright. So we're going to get into the rest of this. I'm going to give some more thoughts on some of the stuff that was said there. We're going to take one more quick break. We got to shout out a couple more of our longtime partners. We're going to do that real quick. Breckenridge Brewery is the official craft beer of DNVR. They have a beer for any occasion. There's no better way to watch a game than having an ice-cold Breck brew in hand. They've been doing it for over 30 years. It all comes down to their love and passion for making good beer. A really cool opportunity coming up, the Breck Brew Ice Stack giveaway. You're going to get a couple of tickets on the glass to the Avs Blues game coming up here on the 29th. That's tomorrow. Complimentary food and drink included. Check out Breck Brew's West Coast style IPA as well, Ridge Runner. It's a double dry hop brew inspired by the untamed beauty of Colorado's trails. Creates bright notes of citrus and pine. Check out the Breck Beer Locator for a brew near you. I also want to talk to you about Lucy Nicotine. Lucy Nicotine, 100% nicotine, always tobacco free. Lucy Breakers are nicotine pouches with a little extra surprise. Each pouch includes a little capsule that can be broken open to release extra flavor and hydration. If you've ever had any of the nicotine pouches, they can get a little gnarly texturally in your mouth. This is a great way to help with that. One of the things that I really like about Lucy, it's really smooth delivery. There are products out there that can be overwhelming, can give you that nicotine poisoning feeling almost instantaneously. Lucy's really smooth. I love that they've got a 4 milligram option. That's more my speed. There's a lot of folks out there that can rock the 6, the 8s and beyond. You guys are built different. I'll give you that. The 4 is where I'm at. That's more my speed. Here comes the fine print. Lucy products are only for adults of legal age. Every order is age verified. Warning, this product contains nicotine. Nicotine is an addictive chemical. All right, we've got some comments here in the Toyota chat I want to get to. Taylor says, if football can match the basketball success, I almost can't imagine what that would feel like. It'd be pretty incredible. I think there's a really key window here at the end of the Mountain West era going into the Pac-12. There's going to be more movement within conferences over these next couple of years. We've all heard the rumors, we've all talked about it, but right now, the gap between the haves and the have-nots is widening, and you don't want to get left behind. And the best way to not get left behind is to win. And when you get to that big stage, like what John Weber said, to show up, to represent. And that's been an issue for CSU over the last 2 decades or so. But the direction of the basketball program right now is really, really encouraging. Aaron, good friend, longtime supporter of the show, says it's been cool to see how Niko Medved helped prepare Ali for this stage. Let's hope it's similar to Munson, to Few at Gonzaga. Spot on. I mean, that's what you're hoping, right? That he can essentially take the baton and run with it and can, continue this marathon, which is really what building a program is. I know we all want the instant gratification of the last couple of years. There's been some peaks and valleys, and I preach patience because, we've always had the San Diego State blueprint to compare to, or Gonzaga, if you really want to aim high. I think what they've become as a basketball program might be a little bit rich just in terms of what your realistic expectations can be. But I think that a program like San Diego State is a perfect example of what CSU can be. Maybe you're not going to go to a national championship. God, that would be so cool to see a CSU in a Final Four. That's up there for me on my sports bucket list. I've seen the Broncos win a Super Bowl. I've seen the Nuggets and Avs win a title. To see CSU in a Final Four is probably my top collegiate sports fantasy. I mean, it'd obviously be really cool to go to the college football playoff as well. There's just something about March Madness that's unique, and maybe that's recency bias for me. In football season, I would say the exact opposite. That's very well possible, and I admit that. But right now, especially coming off of the run that we just had with this program and being that close to a Sweet 16 and being able to talk myself into, well, I mean, you never know, maybe we can give Florida a little bit of a run for their money after we played so well against Maryland. I wanted to see it so bad. It's been a long time coming though. Aaron says I rooted for CSU through the later years. Patience is all fans from that generation had. You're rare though, my guy. Not everyone is you, not everyone is me that has been here for a lot of this, but I meant more in the Medved era specifically. Just you'd have the couple of years of success, back-to-back 14-win campaigns in the Mountain West, and then you have a down year after Roddy leaves. Isaiah gets hurt. You don't have the best season, and I feel like a lot of people at that point were getting a little bit antsy of maybe it's not going to be quite what we thought it was going to be with Medved, especially now that Roddy's gone. Where do we go from here? And the response that this program has had these last couple of years, with really like the most successful stretch in program history. I know they got the 6th seed in 2022, but I mean, to be a top 15 team last year, to do what they did this year, winning 16 games in the league slate, winning the conference championship, beating Memphis, the highest seeded team the Rams have ever beat in the tournament. It's just been unprecedented success. And I just feel like while it's going to be different under Ali, there's a real possibility that it can be a Gonzaga situation, that it can be a San Diego State scenario post Steve Fisher when Brian Dutcher takes over. And honestly, they not only build off of what Fisher had done, the foundation he had laid, but really they took things to the next level and they started to reach, like the second weekend of the tournament. Obviously, the national championship run was incredible, and that was maybe a little bit, I don't want to say fluky, but like not the norm. It's not going to be the standard finish for a team of that size every year, but it's possible. And I think you can be that level of competitive. Like you can be a San Diego State team that the expectation isn't just to be in the bubble and like push for an NCAA tournament. The expectation is to be in the tournament and to win a game or two in the tournament and to make some noise every year. And like hopefully every couple of years you're able to make a substantial run. But it would be nice to get to a point where, as an athletic department, as a program, the fans could basically expect CSU basketball to be a tournament team at minimum, to be in the mix for a conference championship. You're not going to win it every year, but you should be right there in the thick of it. And I think that applies, to football and all the other sports as well. Like we talked about last year, how winning 8 games was a great step in the right direction. Beating both rivals, great step in the right direction. Making a bowl game again, a great step in the right direction. Having said all that, still came up short against your biggest rival. Still both started and ended the season by getting blown out, and I think it just kind of soured some of the accomplishment. And I think patience can be preached on the football side as well. It's a little bit different of a conversation at this point, but I just feel like with the basketball program, with where we're at now, these next couple of years are really going to be key if this is going to be the type of program that we hope it can be. And I think the ceiling can be pretty high. Have some more things here in my notes that I'd like to react to as far as what Ali and John had to say. If you've got any questions, comments, etc., keep them rolling in the Toyota chat. We will react to as many as we can. If I don't get to it right away, we'll start it and come back around. But just kind of the things from that press conference that we played that stood out to me. The type of players you recruit matters. He talked a lot about how it's pretty easy to coach when you have the types of players like David Roddy, like Nique Clifford, like Isaiah Stevens, who not only are incredibly talented, but just get it. I don't think there are a lot of guys that were as talented as them that would have reaffirmed their commitment to CSU over and over again the way those guys did. Obviously Nique's a little bit different of a situation, as we missed out on him out of high school, but ultimately comes full circle, comes back around. He always wanted to go to the NBA after 1 year. He was always planning on testing the waters. He had that belief in himself, which I respect, but I also just respect that he had the maturity to make the right decision, to come back, to play his way into what's looking now like he's going to be a top 20 pick. I mean, he's a rare talent. He's a rare guy who understands, while I could go to a bigger school and get that temporary payday, I'm in a really good place. I'm in a place where I have support. I'm in a place where my best interests are being considered. And that's why guys like Nique Clifford stayed with Nico and Ali. That's why Isaiah Stevens played 5 years at CSU despite having offers from half the Big 12. It's why David Roddy was always going to go to the NBA or come back to CSU. He was never going to go somewhere else. And it just speaks to the type of culture that's been built in this program. And I think one of the greatest selling points for promoting Ali is maintaining that culture and keeping, that same positive trajectory going and keeping the same line of thinking going. He's not going to be Nico. He talked about that openly, and there's going to be things that change, and there are things that should change. Being your most authentic self is incredibly important. I had the privilege to listen to Sonny Lubick at CSU Business Day the other night. It was an honor for Ryan Green and I to speak, but it was also an honor to be able to sit there and soak up the wisdom from Sonny and so many of the things that he preached during his hour or so at the mic. I feel like are very relevant with the basketball program today. And he talked a lot about how yes, you need talent, but you need the right types of guys and you need the right types of relationships. Relationships are number one. It's the biggest key to success, really, in all areas of life, but especially as a coach. If you're not genuine, they're going to see through you. If you're only in it for you, they're going to see through you. If the players don't believe that you care about them, that you don't have their best interests at heart, then they're going to do what's best for them. They're going to dip when they have that opportunity. And I feel like loyalty is kind of a two-way street. And Medved and Farokhmanesh have done such a good job of establishing that chemistry, of establishing that rapport with their players, that it's led to CSU being really successful. And, that kind of takes me to my next point, my next reaction, which was kind of what John Weber said about how they've had a guy, or they're going to have a guy go to the league for the third time in 4 years. That's not normal in terms of the history of CSU. And I personally believe, while there maybe were candidates out there that are more proven as of now, the best way that the Rams are going to be able to keep this going, the best way they're going to be able to keep getting those types of talented guys that have NBA caliber athleticism and skill, but also, represent the program the right way, that do things the right way, that are mature like Isaiah and Nique and Roddy, is by going with Ali, who's really been the guy that's been largely responsible for a lot of these guys coming into the program the last couple of years. That's not to say it's only been him. Obviously, Medved, everybody, it's a team effort when it comes to recruitment. But Ali's really been that lead guy, and he's really done a great job of getting talented players into this program over the years. And more than that, being able to hang on to them for, if not their entire careers, like the vast majority of it. The amount of 4-year guys that CSU has had in recent years compared to a lot of other programs in the Mountain West. Admittedly, I don't have the numbers right in front of me, but I would be surprised if CSU was not top 3. I was going to say, I bet they're number 1. I do. I would assume that the Rams have had the most 4-year guys the last 5 or 6 years or so. When you think back to, Thistlewood and DT and Kendall Moore and Jaylen Lake and all these different guys that have come through the programs. They obviously played 5 years. Tanjay gave you 4 years, even though he left for his 5th season. You don't have that within your program, if you don't have the right type of leader that can establish the right relationships with his guys. And I just feel like that's going to be such a strength for the program moving forward. It's been a strength in recent years, but you don't have to rip out those roots. You don't have to change the foundation of what's allowed you to be successful. And that's been a big component for this program. Going back to the beginning of the Medved era, is not only do they get guys that can ball, they get guys that get it in the big picture. And we're just going to see that continue as the years go on here under Ali. He talked a lot about how much it meant to him to receive such vocal support from his former players. I thought that was really cool to see. I mean, he was basically considered the guy across the board. I'm not sure I've ever seen a candidate for any CSU opening that has the approval rating that Ali has at the moment. We saw Zay, we saw Roddy, we saw Nique, we saw everybody endorsing him and basically saying it was the most logical move. And I think everybody just kind of gets that Ali has been a big part of what has allowed this program to be so successful. I love that he talked about keeping things simple and what he learned from Medved. We've already talked about that a little bit, but I do think it's kind of cool how all of this has played out. And I do think that assuming that this goes successfully, and I know that's a big assumption, but I just genuinely believe the program will do well under Ali. I think the fact that Niko Medved the last couple of years has been prepping Ali for this exact moment kind of impacts his legacy even more in a positive way. Maybe some will disagree with me because some people will look through the lens of, well, he has had his eyes on elsewhere than, from the beginning, which I guess that's true, but I also think we just got to understand that these coaches are all highly competitive. They all have aspirations of, competing in the biggest leagues possible and doing it on the biggest stage, with the most talent and all that. Like it's natural. You can't really be successful in this competitive industry if you don't have some types of aspirations. It doesn't mean you necessarily have to always be looking for what comes next, but I mean, like Medved's wanted this Minnesota job for quite some time. If it ever came open, we knew that he was going to be the front runner to land it, especially after not getting it the last time around and everything he's done since then. But he does care about his relationship with CSU. He does care about his legacy here. He cares about the future of the program. Like when he came in, this place was in shambles, and together with Ali and J.R. Blunt and all these guys that have come through the program over the years, Dave Thorson, Cooley, etc., they were able to build it into what it is today, which was a team that was 3 seconds away from reaching the Sweet 16 and extending their winning streak to 12 and just continuing really the only Cinderella run we had in the NCAA tournament this year. But I just think that it's cool how this has all played out. Like, I understand that some people will always be resentful that Medved has elected to move on, that he wanted to go to a Big Ten school, that CSU wasn't, enough for him. I've argued how he really was loyal for a lot of years. Now he had plenty of opportunities to jump ship, turn down Oklahoma State. Like, I don't think he was leaving for just any gig. But I think Medved going out as a conference champion and with this team playing as well as they did down the stretch and setting CSU up for success down the line with a great quality coach like Ali and leaving some of these other guys around to help him maintain it, Tim and Ken DeWeese. Like, I just feel like he's basically left on as good of terms as you could hope for. And admittedly, I'm biased. I like the guy. I like him and Ali. I have great relationships with both of them because they've been great to me over the years. They've given me great access. Like, Ali getting the job is admittedly good for me from my perspective because I don't now have to build a relationship with somebody else. I don't have to learn a bunch of things about somebody else. And I know what I can ask him, which is basically anything. That's always been the really nice thing about the basketball program, is I've never had to walk on eggshells under Medved and Farokhmanesh the same way you occasionally have to with football, because they can be, we'll just say, a little bit sensitive. If you ask critical questions, they don't handle it quite as well as the basketball coaches always have. But I just really feel like Nico did so much for this program. I think he should be considered the greatest coach in program history. I think we should all be rooting for him to have success. And I think really Farokhmanesh is in a perfect position here to carry this torch moving forward and to build off of, this foundation that was laid with those two. And I don't think this has to be the end of the party. I think the expectation should very much for this program to continue to be right there at the top of the Mountain West. And then obviously the Pac-12, when we get into all of that, great references to what's your agenda, and we're this close. And the Toyota chat, some of the amount of memes I could make with the Dazio quotes it's a long list. We'll just say that those press conferences were just absurd. By the end of it, I honestly thought there were times he might come down from the podium and like try and choke me out or something. Probably would have been great for me, honestly, for my career. I would have gone viral, ended up on SportsCenter, probably won a lawsuit if we're being honest. That would have been just swell. But it is nice to have a program where the head coach is secure enough in himself and mature enough of an individual that when someone like me, who is just genuinely trying to get information so that I can explain to the fans as best as possible, give them the best coverage possible, like, they're not going to throw a hissy fit when I ask. Perfect example. When I ask about, not fouling in CSU losing on a buzzer beater. Niko Medved doesn't, storm. What's your agenda? Doesn't storm off. Demand I focus on the positives. That's not the type of guy he is. That's not the type of guy that Ali Farokhmanesh is. And they're just going to do big things, man. I'm really excited about the future here. I think there's a great opportunity to keep it going. I will say, Aaron says, 7 years with 3 NCAA berths at a mid-major is an eternity in modern basketball. I think we've got a great opportunity here to do even more than that moving forward. We'll see. Before we get out of here, I did want to give just a couple of thoughts on the staff that is being built. Really intriguing staff being built here on the men's basketball side. We had talked about the other day how big it would be to maintain some continuity. We knew that Cooley and Joe D were going to Minneapolis with Medved. We wish those guys well. Great opportunity. I really got along with all of them. Great. I'm going to miss interacting with those guys, to be honest with you. But what I'm really excited about is the opportunity here to build off of specifically the defensive success that they've had in recent years. And I feel like that Tim Shelton has played a really big role in that. I feel like the front court has been just much more physical and much more, I would say, prepared for the types of brutes that you face when you have to deal with San Diego State and Nevada. They just got big, strong dudes. And that had been at times an issue for the Rams defensively. Getting good shots is never going to be an issue for CSU consistently. Under Medved, I don't think it will be under Ali Farokhmanesh either, who's really had not total control, but basically total control of the offense in the last couple of years. I don't anticipate them making a major step back on the offensive side or anything like that. But I think the difference with these last 2 years compared to some of those other runs, why the Rams were able to be a legitimate contender was, when you look at their defensive efficiency, they're right there in the top 3 of the league. It's them, it's San Diego State, it's New Mexico. That is what is going to translate in the NCAA tournament. That's why, San Diego State is basically in the Mountain West Championship game every single year. It's not getting buckets, it's getting in your face and D'ing up. And I just feel like the standard has been elevated on that side of the ball, and I really would love to see that continue moving forward. Obviously, your personnel is going to be a big factor in that, but I just feel like Shelton's done a really great job with what he's done specifically with those guys in the front court and kind of raising CSU's defensive ceiling. Ken DeWeese, admittedly, I don't know quite as well as the other guys, but he is a veteran coach that was Jeff Linder's number 2 at Wyoming, so he's got a lot of experience in the league. He's got a great relationship with Ali as well, which is important just from everybody being on the same page. I do feel like Tim and Ken just immediately wanting to stick around, not even really looking at other opportunities, speaks to, again, the type of guy Ali is and, how he treats people and all that. But it sounds like Dave Polopovich is going to be on the staff as well. If you remember, he used to be the head coach at Air Force, has been an assistant at New Mexico the last couple of years. I was head coach at Air Force from 2011 through 2020, basically 101 and 150 or so as a head coach. But like I said earlier, I don't think I've ever met anybody that has a bad thing to say about Dave. When he got fired at Air Force, and I know it had been, almost a decade and they didn't do a ton. I felt like the teams under him gave everybody a headache. I felt like he brought talented players into the program. They were always well coached and disciplined. They got good looks despite, not having the same caliber of athletes as some of the other teams. I felt like you could see some of his Princeton offense influence on New Mexico this year as well, with some of the back cuts and stuff that they were doing. But I just feel like having somebody like him for a first-time head coach that Ali can lean on, who's been there before, but also is, a good dude and isn't going to be egotistical and a know-it-all or something like that. That can be a bad dynamic on your staff. Polopovich is 61 years old. I don't think at this stage of his career, the longtime assistant. He was at Michigan. He was an assistant at Air Force before he was the head coach there. I don't think like he's looking for his next gig. You never know. I think he probably could have gotten a small school by now, like if he really wanted that opportunity. But I think the opportunity to add somebody like him who's been coaching in the Mountain West for close to 2 decades now is massive for Ali, and just somebody who's been there, who's been a part of a a championship program these last couple of years in New Mexico, somebody who you're not going to have to teach this league to. And I think that's like one of the biggest strengths with this staff as a whole right now is these are all Mountain West guys. Like you've got Plopovich, who was at Air Force in New Mexico. You've got DeWeese, who was Linder's right-hand man at Wyoming. Shelton played at San Diego State. These guys know what they're getting into when they're, scouting for New Mexico at the pit, when they're preparing, to go to Laramie or Viejas. And I just think for a first-year coach, like that's a real advantage of just having the familiarity and the experience. It's not going to be a situation where you have all these guys trying to learn on the fly because they've all been there. They've all done that. They've all faced these teams. They know what to expect. They can lean on each other. They've obviously got plenty of experience, which is huge. Just given that you've got a younger staff, Ali only 36 years old. But I think that's an exciting thing too. You're investing in an up and comer at the right time. And, there's a real cost benefit of it as well. You're saving like $1 million a year compared to what you were paying Medved. Obviously, if you start winning, you're going to have to jump that up significantly pretty quickly, but that's a good problem to have. And you have an opportunity here to take that money that you're saving as well as the buyout and, maybe invest it back in the program, whether that be from a rev sharing standpoint down the line or just, facilities upgrades, whatever, recruiting, more charters, whatever it may be. You just want to continue this investment in men's basketball and continue to try and strive for more. And I very much expect that. Like if I've learned anything about the aspirations of people like Amy Parsons and John Weber, it's that they're going to go for the ceiling. They're not going to be content with, well, we had a nice couple of years there. That's cool. We're good. Like they're going to strive for more. The Adam Driver me more. I think that really is the mindset right now. We're getting greedy at CSU. We're getting greedy in Fort Collins because we know what this program can be. We know what this athletic department can be. We know this is an incredible college town. It's a phenomenal university. It has so much to offer. There's no reason that CSU cannot be competing at the highest level across the board in all sports, men's, women's basketball, football, volleyball, track and field, you name it. A lot of those programs have already been doing pretty good anyways, but I just feel like the future is incredibly, incredibly bright for CSU men's basketball. I love what they're doing from a staff building standpoint. I love how invested the community is in Ali right now. I feel like that's going to be huge. And while I do think that it is an objective gamble to hire a first-time head coach, I just feel like it's a gamble worth taking, and that this is something we as a community kind of recognize is worth it. Like this is an investment that we're signing up for, but it has an opportunity to hit big in a major way. And especially if they can keep some of these young guys in the building. And I will say you shouldn't overreact too much to Kyan and Croc, being there in person today. I do think it speaks to the relationship that they have with Ali, that clearly they care about him. Like they're going to show up for their guy in this moment, but it's a long off season. Like we don't know. We don't know what's going to happen with any of this. I've heard some encouraging things, but we'll just have to see how it all plays out. I will say I have heard that there is a significant jump in NIL money that this program has to work with compared to, years past. I think a year or two ago, it's really like about 500,000 to work with total. And I think they have, from what I've heard, close to like 2 million to work with this year. So we'll see what happens with all that. That's really encouraging. That's a lot closer to like what New Mexico was working with, which where you need to be if you want to be able to maintain some of these big time players, if you want to be able to compete at the highest level. I have some complaints about, the current state of affairs, but we all know what it is, and, money talks. So if you have the ability and you care about the future of this program, the ability to, contribute financially is huge, but I certainly understand it's not something that everybody can do. It's exciting though. I think it's really cool to be in a position where everybody is stoked about the future, and it's not a situation like when Adazio was hired when we're all trying to talk ourselves into it. It's a good place to be. Shout out to everybody in the Toyota chat. We'll be talking plenty of transfer portal news. We'll be getting into spring football, all that fun stuff these next couple of days. Appreciate everybody so much that's been rocking with us. The content has been getting tons of views lately. The articles are getting great metrics as well. I really appreciate everybody that's a DNVR diehard. Would not be able to do any of this if it was not for the people like you. So much love to everybody in Ram Nation. I hope that we were at least somewhat coherent today. Maybe started a little rough, but I think we hit our stride there. Much love, y'all. Always proud to be. Peace.
We all silly like the mayor.